We've got a very special guest here for you today. Think about this. 125 Grand Prix winner, Moto2 podiums, Suzuka 8-hour winner, and podium in MotoGP, the biggest class in our sport. And he's done all of this and is still only 25 years old. I'd like you to welcome Bradley Smith.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Welcome, Brad.
Sounds pretty good, those achievements. I like it.
Well, it is, buddy. There's only a small amount of guys that fit on that list,
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Thank you.
We wanted to get you along here today to ask you some questions and meet the real Brad.
Okay.
That's the whole idea. And I'd like to hit you with the first question of how did you get into bikes and what was that bike, the first bike you had?
So basically I got into bikes through my dad. We actually owned a motocross track that was open to the public, and I'd probably gone about 2 years of just watching, bikes go round and round, on a Wednesday or a weekend.
So your dad was a motocross rider?
My dad was a motocross rider before. My uncles were as well, so it was always something that was inside the family. And my first actual ride on a bike was on a QR50. And it was basically a little track around the backside of the main track that we had. Basically, it took a friend to basically get a bike. He started riding. I think he fell in stinging nettles. Started crying and was about to go home. And I just chirped up, "Please, Dad, can I ride the bike for the rest of the day?" And he said he just couldn't get me off of it. So it all started from there.
What were your dreams as a kid?
I never really had a dream of being a road racer. I grew up on the motocross track, so getting to kind of AMA Supercross was, a childhood dream, to ride in MXGP, but never really to switch to road racing. I only did that in 2005. So, if you would have asked me at 6 years old what I want to be, I wanted to be Ricky Carmichael. I wanted to be the next up and coming Supercross rider. But here we are inside of MotoGP, and it's surprising, where it's taken me. I suppose the dreams changed along the way.
The posters that you had on your bedroom wall as a child, which gives away who your heroes were.
Yeah.
Who were they of?
So my posters were all of my motocross heroes. So which was Stefan Everts, Joel Smets, Mani Bavurts, Kiko Chiodi, Alex Puzar, and then my hero from America, which was Ricky Carmichael.
Awesome. And have you ever got to meet any of them?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to meet Ricky Carmichael. Once when I was 10 years old at Daytona Supercross, it was literally 20 minutes before he was going out for the main event, which was the first time he won a 250 main. So, awesome. That was a real special moment. And then a few times since then, where he's been to MotoGP races, come to Indianapolis, and then he came to Barcelona last year, which he come on the grid with me, wished me luck before the start of the race. So, that was a cool moment for me.
What is your best memory in your racing career so far?
So I think best memory for me is my first Grand Prix win. Although and that's from 125, so that was 2009 at Jerez. I think just that first one, putting everything together, finally, when you actually realise, I can actually, win at this level, because podiums are podiums, but that victory is something a bit more special. Hearing the national anthem on top of the podium, that's when it really sinks in. And that race was amazing for me as well. I think I won by 17 seconds, which was a massive gap in 125. So things just clicked that day. Everything worked, and certainly a good memory for me.
That's giving me goosebumps and hair standing up. And your worst memory in racing so far?
I probably have to say the worst memory was last season at Sachsenring. Season before, sorry. We're talking now 2014. I crashed 5 times during the weekend, and really when I walked away from Sachsenring going into the summer break, which you imagine is going to be 4 weeks, pretty much got told, my job's done. Everything's finished, and that dream of continuing inside of MotoGP, was over. The chance of, fulfilling my potential was over. So, that was the most horrible, awkward 4 weeks, that I've ever gone through. But it was good to actually realise, how much it means, to me on the sport side, and, basically put together a program to put things right. And then that all led up to the podium, my first podium at Phillip Island later that year. So it's amazing how you can go from such a difficult moment, to only 8 weeks later actually to stand on side of a MotoGP podium. So yeah, it was a special one.
Fantastic turnaround in the same season, eh?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
That leads us on to how racing is extremely stressful. I think for everyone, and everyone handles it in a different way. How do you handle the stress side?
So I don't really find, in terms of racing itself, that stressful. It's a challenge for me. I really like the challenge of racing and trying to figure out how to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, to get the performance on Sunday. It's something that I've, certainly improved on in the last few years. It's not necessarily great Fridays and Saturdays, but putting everything together for, a great performance on Sunday. And I really enjoy that. I think the stresses that I find is, traveling, being here, there and everywhere, living out of a suitcase, and then the press and PR, but it's part of the job. And it's only a small negative, to the positive. So I think, it all depends on the perspective that you're looking at it, and how you let it affect you. And I like being in a high pressure situation. It's something that I thrive off of and something that I enjoy. So it's not something that I feel is detrimental, if that makes sense.
So yeah, really good. You're lucky, that.
I'm sure. A lot of it depends on your perspective. If you look at it in terms of, I know racing's unpredictable, so I can't control the unpredictables. But as long as I do, A, B, and C right, and I put all of those together, then it should be straightforward. That's how I always looked at it. I didn't worry about teams or sponsors or this, that, and the other, because I can't control what they want. All I can do is the best that I can do on that day, and as long as I've done that, I walk away. And if I'm not good enough, then they'll find someone else to do the job, and that's just the way that it is. And I think that I'm critical enough to say, okay, I want to do this, or I need to do this better, or we need to do that better. But in terms of like the stress and stuff, I'm a bit like, I can only do the best that I can do on that day.
That's what I used. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember sitting on the start line in Mugello, I think it was. It was a beautiful big racetrack, and I looked over on the pit wall. I was waiting for everyone to queue up. I had a reasonable start position.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of rows just keeping an eye, and I felt this. I look over, and these are my boys on the pit wall.
Yeah.
And then I think about 15 staff, Olin's technicians, computer guys, Dunlop technicians, or 2 articulated trucks, the Japanese staff.
Yeah.
And it gets too much. I'm kind of going, then I think, if I don't do the job, I'm paid to do this job, paid well. If I don't do it, there's a queue of boys that want it,
Yeah.
And if I keep thinking that way, it gets too much. And then I went, to push it away, what I found worked was, I'm here because I'm paid because I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out right now and do my very best. So I know I've thrown 100% at it. If they don't like it, fuck them. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do.
That's it.
It's out of my hands.
I have a contract for the remainder of the season. I'm going to do the best I can. If they think that there's someone else better, which they obviously didn't 6 months ago because they hired me.
Yeah.
So they obviously think that I'm the man for the job, so I'm going to go out and do it. If they think that there's someone better, they'll bring someone better in.
Yeah.
And also, it's their job. The more that you understand it, their job is to turn up, be paid, and their job is to do the best that they can. So then they've done the best they can. Now it's time to you to do the best that you can. Yeah. And if at any point during that you don't believe they did the best they can, then you need to bring them up on that, in the debrief and so on and so forth, or in future meetings.
Yeah.
But you can't sit on the line and feel that pressure. It's just like
it's too much if you.
But then that's when having a plan, is good. Kind of right. And even sometimes it's as simple as start to the first corner. I'm making sure that I get off the line, bam, 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 through the gears. I'm going to brake there. I'm going to go to the outside. I'm going to go to the inside, and then we'll see. Because then the race just goes, and then it's gone. But it takes away that first initial. Yeah. It's just I'm going to go from here to there. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I used routine. We've spoken about it a few times. I used routine, and that I noticed it really helped. if I went, right, my helmet's there and I have a little bit of time, for example, get back to the motorhome, have some lunch, I'll have a little shut-eye, you know, even if it's down to where you're not quite asleep but almost, and then it's like a reset on your computer, you know.
Yeah.
I found it made my mind fresher and crisper. Then spotted there, putting the tear-offs on my helmet or whatever, you know, that's already, my leathers are ready, the slider's in the right spot, everything's there, so you know you can go bang, 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 put it all on, go down to the garage at that time, and you're in that routine, took away some of the stress.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. Fame, you know, that comes with your sport and how well you're doing. In your words, can you explain the pros and cons of the fame side?
I think that we're very lucky in terms of the sport that we do gives us a lot of opportunities. You know, there is interest, but we're still quite a niche sport, so we can still live our everyday normal life. You know, here inside of Andorra, you know, people recognise you, people say hello, but it's not intrusive on your lifestyle. You know, you don't have paparazzi, you know, following you around like football stars, like film stars. So I think we're still lucky from that point of view. A lot of doors open, especially here inside of you know, Andorra, Spain, in general, Catalonia, where if you're a MotoGP rider, people know who you are. So you know, doors open a lot easier. You can go in at the higher level, you know, and speak to the boss of a company or a boss of a circuit, to do the things that you want to do, which is, you know, obviously amazing. From a, you know, negative side is people want to know what you're doing all the time. You know, now with social media and things like that, you know, with Twitter and Instagram, you know, you can never really go away and hide. You know, it's almost your duty to keep people updated on what you're up to, and if you're not doing it, someone else will. You know, someone will, you know, tag you in on something, and I suppose, you know, that type of openness, you know, about your life, and people can really see inside it, is sometimes, you know, a little bit intrusive, and that's probably a negative for me.
If you had a dinner party and you could invite anyone to it, who would they be? Both alive and a second person who's already deceased, you know, from the past.
Yeah. Okay, so dead, I would probably say Barry Sheen. Because it's someone that I've heard so much about, in terms of, you know, his records and accolades within the sport, but it's someone that I never actually got to meet growing up. So I would probably say Barry Sheen. And current, I would like to say Alex Ferguson. You know, I've read and watched a lot of documentaries on, you know, how he went about managing skills, you know, and I think that the way that he went about success, you know, is not only just for a football team. You know, I think it's for a lot of teams in general and individuals. So it's someone that I'd like to meet.
I've had so many of these, I'd struggle to pick which one to tell you. But your most embarrassing moment, would you let us in on it?
Oh, wow. Most embarrassing moment. I would probably say was actually telling my boss or my future boss to get lost. So what happened was I was having a bad day, and it was back in 2007, and I was storming through the paddock, and some guy like grabbed hold of my shoulder, and I'm just like, that, get off me, you know, get lost. And it was actually my future boss, which was Pedro. He was you know, the boss of Polaris World, and I had already signed for his team, but I'd never actually met him. So that was probably the most awkward one for me to try and get through. So yeah, that's one I would never live down.
Your best ever teammate that you've had in the past?
My best teammate. So I would probably say I really enjoyed Xavier Simeon. He's a good friend of mine, and someone that I enjoyed, you know, to be in a team with. It's someone that, you know, we got on well. You know, we were on that same type of level. You know how sometimes with teammates, you know, you're rivals, and it's good to have them inside the team because you're rivals and it spurs you on. But he's just some guy that, you know, I just enjoyed being around, and, you know, it was good to have him within the team.
And your worst ever teammate? Would you let us in on that?
Yeah, so I'd probably say it's my current one. Paul Espargaro. We've actually got a better relationship as we've gone through, doing Suzuka 8 Hour last year, probably have that relationship, actually having to work together on something. But we've done a lot of things together. We've actually realised we're not that bad of a people, so that's not too bad. But it's war between us. We've had a rivalry since 14 years old. We've known each other and raced, against each other since 14, and it's embedded now in me that, I need to beat him and he needs to beat me.
The most important person to have with you at a race meeting, who's that?
I would give this one to Randy Mamola, because he is my eyes around the racetrack. It's someone that I can send out around the track and make sure, that I'm doing things right, doing things wrong. And he gives me a 3D picture of what you can see on the data. Data, you can always tell a story, but finally it's lines, it's graphs, but Randy's kind of the final piece of the puzzle that actually makes it 3D. So it's no longer, just, oh, well, you're turning in early here, you're picking up late here, you're carrying, not enough speed, too much on the brake. He actually can tell me from a racing point of view, and you start to be able to visualize it more inside of your head. And it's someone that I've had, now inside my team since 2008. So, I don't think it would be the same without him. So, yeah, really important.
Important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
On your time off, to disconnect from racing, what do you do?
I think one of the best things about inside of Andorra is, hiking. Actually going out inside of the mountains and, going out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whether walking or on my trials bike. It's something that we do together, and I think that's probably the best thing to disconnect. Actually going out in the countryside, it being quiet, no stress. There's no technology. You don't take your phones, or you put your phone on silent inside your backpack. And you just either enjoy riding or walking. Just breathing and going through kind of the trees and being completely away from noise and hustle and bustle of life, because I think current life's very busy. It's very noisy. There's always something going on, so it's nice just to disconnect by doing that.
Brilliant. What about after racing? Have you got any idea what you want to do?
It's a difficult one because I haven't really thought too much into retirement. Because I'm still in the middle of my career. I'd like to think, but I think I'd still want to remain around motorbikes. I think there's a lot for me to be able to give in terms of racing, and I get quite a lot of reward from that. I enjoy that factor of helping guys get better about riding, or helping already established riders just to get a little bit better. One thing that I do enjoy, and I've realised that I start to enjoy, is actually being inside the garage and seeing it from a different point of view. Rather than being a racer and seeing everybody looking in at me, actually being the guy that looks in on the rider, and I can see myself being involved more and more. I've seen, obviously what Wilco Zeelenberg's doing, Randy's doing for me. Also, I think Luca Cadalora is now doing for Valentino Rossi. And that type of thing, gives interest. You're not hands-on inside of the team, but you're an element there, and I think that's something that I would enjoy.
Everyone loves a little sing-along in the car, while driving, especially alone, and everyone sounds great if the volume's up loud enough. Our research team have come back and told us that your favourite is... If there was one bit of advice you could give riders of the next generation, what would it be?
It's a tough one because this journey is long, and you have to be ready to be in it 100% and be in it for the long haul. But one thing that you have to remember is why you got it in the first place, and I think all motorbike riders had a love, had a passion, and it should always remain, a love and a passion, and you should always find something within the sport, because it's sometimes not fun. you still have great enjoyment of of what you're doing, and there's that sense of real racing, but sometimes the fun does go out of it. Once you become a professional and it becomes your job, it's no longer funny. Let's say you're enjoying yourself, but it's no longer funny, it's serious.
Totally.
But you should always find something within all of those elements that you're still enjoying, and that's whether it's the training, whether it's the pressure, whether it's those goosebumps of sitting on the start line ready to go, whether it's the ups and downs of racing. You should always find that something that you still enjoy and keep continuing to strive for. I think that's the most important thing for any of the racers.
Brad, big thank you, mate.
No worries.
Absolute
Always a
pleasure to have you.
Thank you.